Sizakele Nkosi-Malobane, the young people toured the Kgosi Mampuru Correctional Centre and interacted with some female inmates. This is part of the Get Out, Stay Out program that is intended to assist in the rehabilitation of offenders and also to keep young people away from crime. But to talk to us more about this initiative, we joined in our studios in Johannesburg by the MEC herself, as well as one of the learners who toured the Correctional Centre, NATASHA MNKANDLA. Like I said, she was part of this talk. Good morning to both of you ladies, and thank you so much for coming through.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. MEC, let's start with you. Talk to us about this Get Out, Stay Out program.
Okay. Get Out, Stay Out program is a program that is targeting inmates who are already incarcerated. We give them skills skills that will help them survive outside in order for them not to go back to prison. But it is also a program where we target young people, particularly learners, who are beginning to show some signs of delinquency, but not all of them are delinquent. But we are beginning to show those signs to go in and interact with inmates who will then tell them about their own experience, but they will also observe what is happening in prison in order for them never to be to actually be victims or be our clients by going into prison.
Yeah, they need to stay away from criminal activities. But Natasha, tell us about your experiences. What are your observations? What did you learn? What did you take away from the tour?
Well, it was really a horrifying experience, really horrifying.
What was horrifying? The moment you stepped into the prison itself, or the interaction with the inmates?
It felt so lonely, you know. Even the prisoners, they told us that it's very lonely in here, and they told us that it's cold, they're feeling cold. Well, this freedom that we have, they don't have it. So it was really quite horrifying to me, and that influenced me not to do any criminal activities.
But how are you going to take that message to your peers, you know, just to let them, know that they should stay away from crime?
Well, I have my own friends. I told them, my friends that did not go to the jail tour, well, I told them that you guys shouldn't do this because it's rough in there. You shouldn't go there. It's not a place to be. For juveniles like us.
Yeah, but what did you see? You keep saying it's rough in there. What specifically did you see?
Well, I saw where they sleep, and these days it's seriously cold, and they're feeling cold in there. And there are also kids there, small kids that are born in jail, and they stay there. They don't have the freedom that we have. Yes.
Yeah. MEC, let's talk a little bit about, of course, the criminal activities. How much would you say young people in Gauteng are involved in criminal activities?
I mean, some of the kids that we took to prison, to our correctional centers, they smoke, they sniff benzene. They'll put it on their ties during lessons, and whilst the teacher is actually busy on the board or something, they will keep on smoking that. And few minutes later, or whilst the lesson is continuing, some of these kids are intoxicated. And those are some of the kids that we have to take into our correctional centers to observe what is happening. But the most problematic activity in our schools is actually drugs and bullying, both on boys and girls. And I'm sure you have seen in the last few weeks how bullying is affecting our schools. And it's not a boys thing. It's actually both boys and girls. Some girls can be very, very rough. And those are the things that have actually prompted us that we focus not only on boys, because these tours have been going on for some time, but girls were never a target. But we have now decided that we'll take boys and girls into our correctional centers, let them go and experience firsthand. And some of them, we lock them in with those inmates for a few hours, just for them to see what happens whilst they're there. And by the time they go out of the cells, they are actually scared. And those are some of the things. But we also put them into cells where they are hardcore inmates, people who've been there for murder, for rape, for shoplifting, etc. And they will interact with them like they interact with any honest citizen, because remember, some of them are still not yet rehabilitated. So we want them to experience that, to show them that if you happen to be involved in a criminal activity, this is what is going to happen to you. And we are going to make sure that all schools in Gauteng, particularly the ones that we have got serious problems of drugs and bullying, will actually be touring some of our correctional centers.
But in terms of tightening security at schools, you bring an important issue here, of course, of the videos that we have seen on social media recently, learners fighting and doing all sorts of criminal activities. How are you going? Is there perhaps an initiative now that you will put forward to ensure that security is tightened at those schools, specifically those that we have seen being on the news of late?
But do we really need security for children? Do you need children to be watched 24 hours in order for them not to bully each other? It's a question that all of us as parents must actually ask. But we have deployed patrollers in our schools we have increased the number of patrollers that are deployed, because the ones that were deployed were focusing on the cars that are going in and out the schools, and we now put in guys that will patrol the schools during lessons. But I think what we need to do is to invest on education on our kids instead of investing on security in our schools. Those are not prisons; those are schools, and our children need to have a freedom of movement, and they need to be happy whilst they're in those centers.
All right, going back to the tour now, MEC, you have also had a chance to interact with these inmates. What sense did you get from the conversations that you had with them? Is there, light in terms of rehabilitation in them?
Since we started the program, we've got quite a number of inmates that are out now, and of course, some of them are female, and they're now in our program of staying out of correctional services, and some of them have started small businesses and they're successful. I was hoping that one of the ladies that was actually released about 6 months ago, I wanted her to come here. She's a normal, beautiful lady, you know. And people, when she walks in the street, will never think that this person has served 10 years in our correctional centers. And we want such people who will learn when they're inside and not to go back again.
Right.
Use that opportunity to be educated and empower themselves, not to be criminals again.
All right. Now, we've run out of time, but I'm so vying to ask you this question because I know a different issue, of course, altogether from our conversation. The issue of Grace Mugabe. I remember MEC, you one of those first people who actually condemned what the First Lady of Zimbabwe had done. What do you say now? She's been granted diplomatic immunity, and a whole lot of South Africans are saying it looks like our safety has not been considered yet.
It is very unfortunate that after all our efforts to try and address the issue of the abuse of women and children, but to also try and deal with the issue of the First Lady of Mugabe, of Zimbabwe, she's just got away with crime or murder. But we hope that at some point our governments will talk to each other and make sure that she owns up to what she did to this young lady. We can't afford leaders abusing women when quite a number of women are killed on a daily basis because of either jealousy, drugs, etc., etc.
Right.
And she must actually pay for what she did.
All right. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much indeed. Let's take a break here on Morning Live and stay tuned. We'll be talking some first unemployed graduate summit that will take place in South Africa. Stay tuned.